everybody, my name is China, and so today I'll be sharing with you guys my art project. This is my first piece of art that I've ever made, so I'm super excited to share it with you guys, but I'm also a little nervous. But this has been a really interesting opportunity to get to work through art from a artistic standpoint, and so I think it's been a really informative process. So, the art that I'm about to show you is very much influenced by the Radical Women's Catalog that we've been reading all semester, and I really was, drawn to topics that dealt with gender and sexuality. Of course, they like all that was present through every chapter in some regards, but for me, I really wanted to I was really influenced by that, and I really kind of tried to take it and make it my own. So the topics that I explore deal with gender and sexuality as I understand it, especially being someone who openly identifies as pansexual. And for me, that gender that's enforced, especially like in American culture, uh, is extraordinarily irrelevant to me, particularly. And so I kind of wanted to capture a way that explores that, how I see gender and how I make sense of it. And so without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy my project. So the title of my project is called In My Mind as I Know It, and like I said, this is my attempt to understand gender and sexuality from my mind and how I structure these ideas. And so one of the things I think is the coolest thing to point out is that the paper that are like outlining these rooms is very much like poems, writing, old articles, and papers that I've written, and then some of them are actually papers that were donated to me because I put on my apartment group chat that I was doing an art project, and like if people wanted to donate to it, I'd be more than happy to find a way to incorporate it. And so my idea was this: it was that your mind isn't just made up of solely your ideas; they're made up of other people's ideas, and that kind of influences how you interpret the world around you. So I wanted to include as many different people as I could get my hands on. And so just like there's different ideas, there's also kind of new and old ideas that existed within the space. So I kind of soaked some of the paper in like water and stripped off some of the ink and kind of tried to make it look more faded. So there's a mixture of kind of new, fresher ideas with like the crumpled paper mixed in with some of the older ideas. And so this kind of theme with mixing of ideas is continued on the sides and along the back. And so here I have someone's I think it's a medical report, I'm not quite sure, but and then like some girl gave me a planner, and like she actually has her writings on it. And so I think it was a really cool aspect to continue to kind of capture this mental mind structure aesthetic that I was going for. So because I was trying to layer this like your mind and how you think and how I think, more importantly, I really wanted to start with like how I believe you enter the mind. And so from here, it's like, the very outermost layer of your thought process, or at least my thought process, and this is how I believe it looks. And so it's very glittery, it's very shiny, very beautiful, in my opinion. And then we go here to these really beautiful synthetic flowers, which were also donated to me. And, I'm slipping through this puddle you get swamped into these ideas as you travel down into the deeper subconscious of your mind. And so I hope you can see these, but like on these flowers, there's these dark spots. And so for that, I really wanted to work through the idea that even simple, kind of more beautiful thoughts can be speckled with, you know, self doubt and these other kind of confusing, also contradictory thoughts. So, moving down to these, I guess the next layers are these three rooms, and the whole kind of box concept. I really kind of wanted to play with this idea of like a dollhouse. For me, this connects my current understanding to like my past younger self, who was really obsessed. Like I had this toy dollhouse, and I was just super obsessed with it. And for me, at the time it was fun, but at the same time, now that I think about it, it was like just kind of preparing me for those gender stereotypes by like playing with this idea of like this domestic space. So, starting with this middle room, I kind of see this like it's caved in, and at the same time, you're trapped. And so in here, you have just a kind of a head, and from here, you kind of work through this idea of, you know, being here is like your innermost thoughts, your more private thoughts you really don't share with a lot of people. And here you're allowed to be free to express and explore yourself, but at the same time, you're very limited because there's only a particular space that you can do this with. And for me, since this is the head, we're in the thought, and this is supposed to be a thought, or that this is basically the heart of the whole thing. And, to kind of reinforce this idea that you're here, you're free to do within this, like what you want within the space, but you're still trapped. I kind of have these strings, which I made out of this like super, not glue, but the glue gun, and I just kind of stretched it to keep the kind of head in the same spot. And actually, honestly, started out as a mistake, but I kind of fell in love with it, and I just kept doing it. And so, moving on to these other rooms, continue to find body parts, because I think in the head, at least for me, it's like your body within your mind can be something that is still together, but at the same time, kind of disfranchised. And so, you play with these two really kind of extreme rooms where like the hyper feminine and the hyper masculine. And for me, I had family members who were very much super girly. So this room was kind of a play on the high femme. You have like high heels walking everywhere on the ceiling, and like standing upside down, and in the middle there's just this naked torso, and you're sent like, and that's to be like, for girls, we're always told about our body, our image, we have to protect it. And then on the side, we have some text that people sent me that I compiled together to like kind of increase the stereotypes, but also kind of contradictory things that exist when like dealing with the feminine. And of course, the border is actually made of old jewelry that people donated, and so it's like a broken bracelet. It's actually really pretty. And so the other side is also going on the opposite side with the male's room. And so you have the spot where you have the contradictory text, and just as the opposite is the female's kind of silly and all over the place and kind of superficial with hypervisibility. You've got the masculine, which is more confined into this rock, kind of strong, silent kind of demeanor. And I wanted to make a hyper masculine room, so I just with the blues and the anchors and the wood flooring. And for because guys are ideal to be like kind of dominant and aggressive, they're this rock is in between these legs. And so we continue down to these other rooms, and we have what I call the hyper the makeup room. And how I understand makeup, I honestly am not a big fan of it, but it's very much still a part of my life. But at the same time, you see it as something that makes you be seen in imperfections, and I just kind of wanted to make it ugly, but yet also pretty at the same time. So the dress, the really pretty back reflective background, and just all these eyes, which are on the border, on the wall, on the ceiling, with all this makeup around and these high heel shoes and a tipped over purse, kind of play with this idea of how I feel with makeup. And I kind of wanted to just have this weird chemical smell to it, so I actually apply like actual makeup to make the whole box. I soaked it in like a heavy perfume, and then I dried the box out so it actually continuously smells like floral, and so I thought it was fun. And this last room is actually one of my favorite rooms. So it's actually like moss with like rocks I found when I went to the lake. And so this room kind of deals with my own, how I understand my sexuality as pansexual. And so I feel like, I was really thinking of like maybe doing pride flags or maybe doing a pan flag somewhere. But for me, I feel like it's more subtle, and so I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, for me, I feel like my sexuality is organic, and sometimes I don't have to use all that stuff to show it. And I just think it just exists. And for me, I wanted to show that my sexuality just exists. And so that's what like these sticks and logs that I grabbed from outside and covered it with this really cool mouse that I found. So it was really this is like honestly my favorite room and the funnest room to make. And so this fountain I have in the center, of course, has this other body part to it. And yeah, it was a funny story because my uncle, when I first came out to my family, he literally said, "Do you want to sell? You've been drinking that gay juice." So I made a gay fountain that exists in nature, and this is apparently where I drink my gay juice from. So that was my project, and I'm like I said, I really had fun working through it, um, and I was really happy to show you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good night. Bye.